Last year, I took a step I thought was the logical progression of my relationship. I moved in with my partner. We'd been together for roughly 18 months, things felt solid, and we were eager to deepen our commitment. She'd just purchased a lovely 2-story home in a peaceful suburb. And though my name wasn't on the deed, I was determined to pull my weight financially. I wanted to prove I was all in, not just coasting along. I already owned a modest property elsewhere, which I rented out, but the income from it only just covered its loan payments. With student debt, credit card balances, and other expenses, my finances were tight. Even so, I managed to chip in $2,000 monthly toward her $5,000 mortgage. It strained my budget, but I made it work because I believed in us. She had a 10-year-old daughter from a prior relationship. I've always been fond of children, and her daughter and I clicked well. I never tried to step into a fatherly role, but I was present, kind, helpful, and engaged. I drove her to soccer when my partner worked late, helped with algebra homework, and attended her school performances. It took some adjusting, but I genuinely enjoyed forming that connection. For a few months, life was good. We settled into a rhythm. I worked remotely most days, kept the house neat, cooked dinner a few times a week, and we spent weekends hiking local trails, watching TV marathons, or taking her daughter on small adventures. It felt like we were laying the foundation for something lasting. Then everything shifted. One night, she sat me down and announced that her ex, her daughter's dad, was moving in with us. She framed it as temporary, saying he was struggling and that it would benefit their co-parenting dynamic. I was stunned. I hadn't even known he was in trouble. Apparently, he'd lost his job and had been crashing on friends' couches. I wasn't thrilled, but I understood the importance of stability for her daughter, so I pushed down my unease and agreed to try. The first few weeks were awkward. Her ex was civil, but something about his behavior grated on me. He acted too at ease, strolling around shirtless, cracking jokes tied to their past, and calling the house ours as if I were invisible. He'd bring up old stories from their relationship, memories that served no purpose except to highlight his history with her. I tried raising my concerns with her a few times, explaining how out of place I felt. She'd nod, say she got it, but nothing changed. Instead, she grew defensive, saying things like, "He's her dad," or "I don't want to upset her routine." I understood her reasoning, but the house's vibe had undeniably changed. I no longer felt like her partner. I felt like a boarder, and a second-rate one at that. The final straw came months later. I returned home early from a work meeting and found her and her ex on the couch, laughing, sitting closer than felt right. It wasn't blatantly wrong, but the ease, the shared history I could never touch, hit me hard. In that moment, I knew I didn't belong there anymore. I didn't cause a scene or issue demands. That weekend, I packed some bags and moved into a temporary rental. I told her I needed time to think. She was clearly upset, but I think she sensed this was inevitable. I stayed away for weeks. We still talked, mostly about her daughter, and she'd occasionally ask when I'd return. I was honest. I couldn't live where I felt like an outsider. I couldn't keep paying $2,000 a month for a home where I wasn't valued as a partner. I pointed out that my name wasn't on the mortgage, leaving me with no legal or financial security, and continuing to contribute under those conditions didn't add up. That's when things turned bitter. She accused me of deserting her and her daughter, saying I'd made promises she relied on. She tried to guilt me by mentioning how I'd bonded with her daughter, claiming I was the steadiest male figure in her life. It hurt, but I held my ground. I reminded her that none of this would have happened if she hadn't put her ex's comfort above our relationship. I never asked her to exclude him from their daughter's life or tried to replace him. All I wanted was a home where I felt secure, respected, and appreciated. When that stopped being possible, I left. Now she's upset that I won't return, won't resume payments, won't act like everything's fine. But I've reached a point where I refuse to pay for a peace that isn't real. I care about her and her daughter deeply, but I have to care about myself too. My mental health, my financial stability, my self-respect. Am I wrong for this? About 3 weeks after moving out, I was starting to find my footing. The quiet of my new place wasn't just calming, it was healing. I hadn't realized how much tension I'd been carrying until I could finally exhale without anticipating awkward run-ins. I was still processing the emotional toll, but at least my surroundings weren't a constant reminder of my crumbling relationship. I was moving forward, one calm evening at a time. Then, out of the blue, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. I don't usually pick up unknowns, but I did this time. It was a local real estate agent, courteous and professional, assuming I still lived at the house. She said she'd been hired to assess the property for a potential sale and wanted to arrange a walkthrough with all residents present, if possible. I froze, trying to wrap my head around it. A house sale? I hadn't heard a word about this from my ex. It was her property, sure, but I'd been paying into it, helping with her daughter, cooking, cleaning, fixing things. That house had been my home, too, for a while. Now a stranger was evaluating it, and I was being informed like a former tenant. I called my ex right away. When she answered, she didn't hesitate. She just dropped the news. She was considering selling. She rambled about how things had gone downhill since I left. Apparently, her ex, who she'd insisted was just a temporary guest for their daughter's sake, had lost another job. He wasn't contributing to bills, buying food, or helping with school runs or homework. Instead, he'd started hosting loud friends late at night, drinking and carrying on while a 10-year-old tried to sleep nearby. Her daughter, who was supposed to benefit from his presence, was having nightmares and trouble resting. She'd become withdrawn and moody. Teachers had contacted my ex, worried about her declining grades and emotional state. The stability my ex had aimed for by letting him move in had backfired spectacularly. He'd become another dependent, bringing chaos instead of support. The tipping point came during a heated argument between them. He accused her of being ungrateful, claiming he was the glue holding their family together. That fight shattered her illusions. She saw how she'd let someone destructive into her life while pushing out someone who truly cared. By the end of the argument, she'd decided to sell. She started contacting realtors and looking at listings. Then came the part I didn't see coming. She wanted to start over, with me. She proposed we buy a new place together, something fresh, shared, truly ours. She called it our real start. I sat there after the call, phone in hand, stunned. There was a time I would have agreed instantly when I believed in us as a unit. But now, after everything, I felt a knot in my gut. I remembered walking in to find her laughing with him on the couch. The slow erosion of my place in the home while I paid to keep it running. How my concerns were dismissed for stability that never materialized. Now she wanted a do-over, but I couldn't ignore the cracks in our foundation. I thought about her daughter, who I missed more than I could say. I thought about our cartoon nights and park days, the bedtime routine that went from clumsy to natural. She'd trusted me. But I wasn't sure if stepping back into that world, even in a new house, was for her benefit or just my ex's attempt to patch a life falling apart. I'd already rebuilt once, alone, step by step. It was tough, but honest. It was mine. Buying a house together sounded appealing in theory, but it felt less like a partnership and more like a lifeline for her. I told her I'd consider it, but deep down, I knew my answer. A week after her call about the house and her idea for a fresh start, I received a message that hit me hard. It wasn't from her, it was from her daughter. A brief email full of heartfelt thanks and childlike sincerity that struck me deeply. She thanked me for driving her to soccer, showing her how to make fluffy scrambled eggs, and helping with her volcano science project she loved so much. Then, at the end, she wrote something that stopped me. I know you're not my dad, but I liked having you around. The house felt peaceful when you were there. That line broke me. I sat at my desk, tears in my eyes, because it was the first time someone had articulated what I'd felt, but started to doubt. I'd spent weeks second-guessing every moment, wondering if I'd overreacted or given up too soon. Her words erased those doubts. They confirmed the tension I'd sensed wasn't in my head, and the calm I'd worked to create had mattered to her. A 10-year-old had noticed the shift in her home, from warmth and routine to discord and stress. She'd felt it and remembered it. Instead of asking me to return or trying to fix the pain, she just wanted me to know I'd made a difference. I thought about her all day. Not her mom, not the failed relationship, just the girl who'd relied on me for math help and giggled when I botched her braids. I remembered her excitement when I learned her favorite cartoon characters' names, how she'd race downstairs for Sunday pancakes and fix the ones I'd shaped wrong. I recalled her asking me to her school talent show and her huge smile when she saw me in the crowd. Those memories didn't hurt. They ached, but they also anchored me, reminding me I hadn't been a bystander. I'd been there, fully present. My time in that house hadn't been for nothing. I didn't reply to her email immediately. I wanted to get it right, to say what needed saying without overstepping or making promises I couldn't keep. But I knew I had to respond. So I wrote back, telling her her message meant everything to me, that I thought of her often and was proud of her strength. I said I'd always cheer her on, even from a distance, and I'd be there if she needed help with school, advice, or just a chat. This month, I moved back into my own house, the one I'd been renting out while trying to build a life elsewhere. Walking through the door, it smelled of dust and time, like a place left untouched too long. The walls still had the same paint, the kitchen still had that creaky cabinet hinge, and the bedroom still caught the afternoon light perfectly. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. This time, I made it matter. I spent the first week scrubbing every surface, tearing out old carpets, repainting the living room, updating fixtures, and fixing that hinge. I didn't just want it livable. I wanted it to feel like home. As I arranged furniture, hung photos, put up curtains, and got my coffee maker running smoothly, something in me settled. Not dramatically, but quietly, like I was finally aligned with myself. No more tight shoulders, no more tiptoeing, just calm. Peace. 2 weeks ago, I got a call from a number I didn't have saved, but the voice was familiar. Leah, my ex's cousin. We'd met at family gatherings, and she always seemed perceptive, someone who saw beneath the surface. She apologized for meddling, but felt I deserved the truth. I listened. She said my ex's ex, the man who'd disrupted my life, had finally left. But not before draining her bank account, upending her routine, and shattering her emotional stability. Leah said things had gotten ugly. He wasn't just jobless. He'd turned the house into a crash pad. Friends over late, dishes piling up, unpaid bills, broken promises. He'd even borrowed money from my ex for a supposed business venture, then vanished after she sent it. The house never sold. Despite the realtor and talk of new starts, my ex couldn't follow through. Leah said she's now working 2 jobs, barista mornings, delivery driver evenings, barely keeping up. She's exhausted, overwhelmed, and, in Leah's words, full of regret. She'd let someone toxic in, pushed away someone steady, and learned the hard way that good intentions don't protect you from poor choices. Leah said my ex cries often, mentions me sometimes, wishes she'd chosen differently, but I was there, fully there. I showed up with my heart, my wallet, my time. I filled roles I wasn't asked to take on because I cared. I did it quietly, without expecting applause. All I asked for was respect, a say, a place in the home I was helping sustain. When that was denied, when I was treated like a stand-in, I walked away, not to hurt anyone, but to save myself. Life has a funny way of looping back. Last week, Leah invited me to a spring fair at the elementary school. Her daughter was in the talent show. I hadn't seen my ex's daughter since her email, the one that broke and healed me. I hesitated, unsure if going would help or stir trouble, but Leah insisted she'd be thrilled. So I went, kept it low-key, stayed on the sidelines. She spotted me by the snack table and ran over, hugging me so tightly it felt like she was squeezing out the whole school year. No words, just that quiet weight of gratitude. I gave her a small art kit I'd picked out, nothing big, just something she'd love. Her smile lit up, and for a moment, the world faded. I told her she was brave, brilliant, and had so much ahead. She grinned, holding back tears like kids do, then dashed off to her friends. I stayed for the fair, watching from a distance as she painted a butterfly on a paper plate and danced with her classmates in the gym. I didn't see my ex until I was leaving. She was at the back, stacking chairs, her eyes heavy with fatigue. We didn't talk. She saw me. I saw her. That was enough. As for me, I'm good, more than good. I have my house, my space, my clarity. I wake up and make coffee in my kitchen without dread. I spend weekends on my porch with a book or building furniture I never had time for before. No confusion, no emotional debt, no wondering if I'm enough while someone else treats me like a spare part. I don't resent my ex. I don't wish her harm. I hope she finds her way. But I've built something better for myself, solid, rooted, where the only person I need to prove my worth to is me. So no, I don't think I'm wrong. Just a guy who learned how costly it is to ignore your own limits until you finally don't. I'll always care about the girl who saw something in me her world needed. I'll always show up for her when it matters. School help, advice, or just a listener. Thank you for watching my story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Stay tuned for more real-life stories, get more experiences.